Okay, so this story is called The Wendigo, and 30% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so I'd really appreciate it if you just subscribed right now. It's free, and you can always unsubscribe if you want. Alright, here we go. A wealthy man wanted to go hunting in a part of northern Canada where few people have ever hunted. He traveled to a trading post and tried to find a guide to take him, but no one would do it. It was too dangerous, they said. Finally, he found an Indian who needed money badly. He agreed to take him. The Indian's name was Defago. They made camp in the snow near a large frozen lake. For 3 days they hunted, but they have found nothing. The third night, a windstorm came up. They lay in their tent, listening to the wind howling and the trees whipping back and forth. To see the storm better, the hunter opened the tent, and what he saw was startling. There wasn't a breath of air stirring, and the trees were standing perfectly still, yet he could hear the wind howling, and the more he listened, the more it sounded as if it was calling for Defago's name. It called his name many times. I must be losing my mind, the hunter said. But Defago had gotten out of his sleeping bag and was huddled into a corner. The hunter asked, "What's wrong?" "It's nothing," Defago said. But the wind continued to call for him, and Defago became more tense and more restless. It called Defago's name. It was almost like it was a ghost. Suddenly he jumped to his feet and began to run from the tent. But the hunter grabbed him and wrestled him to the ground. "You can't leave me out here," the hunter shouted. Then the wind called his name again, and Defago broke loose and ran into the darkness. The hunter could hear him screaming as he went. Again and again he cried, "Oh, my fiery feet, my burning feet of fire." Then his voice faded away, and the wind died down. At daybreak, the hunter followed Defago's tracks in the snow. They went through the woods, down toward the lake, then onto the ice. But soon he noticed something strange. The steps Defago had taken got longer and longer, and they were so long no human being had have taken them. It was as if someone had helped him to hurry away. The hunter followed the tracks into the middle of the lake, but they disappeared. At first he thought that Defago had fallen into the ice, but there wasn't any hole. Then he thought that something had pulled him off the ice into the sky, but that made no sense. As he stood, wondering what happened, the wind picked up again. Soon it was howling as it had the night before. Then he heard Defago's voice. It was coming from up above. And again he heard Defago screaming, "My fiery feet, my burning feet." But there was nothing to be seen. Now the hunter wanted to leave that place as fast as he could. He went back to the camp and packed up. Then he left some food for Defago, and he started out. Weeks later, he reached civilization. The following year, he went back to hunt in that area again. He went to the same trading post to look for a guide. The people there could not explain what happened to Defago that night, but they had not seen him since then. "Maybe it was the Wendigo," one of them said, and he laughed. "It's supposed to come with the wind. It drags you along at a great speed until your feet are burned away, and more of you than that. Then it carries you into the sky and it drops you." Just a crazy story, but that's what some Indians said. A few weeks later, the hunter was at the trading post again. An Indian came in and sat by the fire. He had a blanket wrapped around him, and he wore a hat so it could cover his face. The hunter thought there was something familiar about him. He walked over and asked, "Are you Defago?" The Indian didn't answer. "Do you know anything about him?" No answer. He began to wonder if something was wrong, if the man needed help, but he couldn't see his face. "Are you all right?" he asked. No answer. To get a good look at him, he lifted the Indian's hat. Then he screamed. There was nothing under the hat except a pile of ashes. Alright, so that's gonna do it for the story. I found this video on YouTube. It was just wendigo sounds. So, I'm gonna play that right now.